There is much to be learned from people who have lived on this land much longer than we have. A knowledge that manifests itself not only in their relationships with nature, their songs and epics, their technology and creations, but in their very survival. Only by being aware of this heritage of the indigenous can we find not only our roots, but our direction. Their pride and ours, captured in one word, Dayaw. Nature creates, man imagines, and man recreates. Great events take place, man remembers, and man reimagines. Through a piece of music, a song, a ritual, a chant, an oral joust, even an epic. And as these grow and are eventually passed on, the memory becomes a code of conduct or a collection of lessons, a manual that teaches one how to be perhaps a good Maranao or a good Ifugao or a Mangyan, and hopefully an ideal of one's identity. The oral traditions of our indigenous peoples are the subject of our second exploration, yet another source of Dayaw, our knowledge, our pride. Music and rhythm are the very basis of chanted epics, unspoken, wordless repetitions, transforming, mutating into universes of their own. Before we listen to the indigenous epics, I want you first to listen to a Maguindanao virtuoso. The late Samawan Sulaiman, who was among the first indigenous artists to be awarded the Gawad Manlilikha ng Bayan. A true virtuoso, Samawan's instrument of choice was a kudyapi, or two-stringed lute. Its two strings seemingly a metaphor for its universal opposites of constancy and change. The music he chose to master was a reflection of the stately court traditions of the Maguindanao. The late maestro was renowned all over Maguindanao as a true artist of his people, an artist who chose to keep Maguindanao classical tradition alive and to embellish it with his own genius. His melodic and rhythmic permutations transform, mutate into a universe of their own. Very different but equally powerful are the rhythms beaten out on gongs and bamboo floors by the southern Palawanon. Here, another Gawad Manlilikha ng Bayan awardee, the late Masino Intaray, was recorded by the National Commission on Culture and Arts as he led the Basal Ensam in their village in the highlands of Brooks Point. Their playing was made even more hypnotic by the women who beat out an equally complex rhythm of the tarek with their bare feet on the bamboo floor. When the human voice musically mirrors and echoes the complexities, textual meanings, and flow of narratives, the chant is born. One voice telling a story, another voice answering and pushing the narrative. then a whole community joining in. The chant is born. The epic unfolds.
Ngayon ang araw na ating pinatunayan na walang maliit o malaking paraan. Dahil nasa kamay ng bawat isa ang pagpapahalaga sa kalayaang tinatamasa. Patuloy natin itong ipaglaban.
In the Hudhud School in Lagaway, Ifugao, teacher Fatima Ngalawan has devoted a good part of her career to training selected pupils in the chanting of the Ifugao epic, the Hudhud. She selects a girl from each batch who will be the lead chanter or the munhawe, as well as others who will form the chorus or munabuy. Then batch after batch, she teaches them the chant of their ancestors. The Hudhud has been recognized by the UNESCO as one of the masterpieces of humanity's intangible heritage. The Hudhud recounts the adventures of the Ifugao epic heroes, the most popular being Aliguyon.
Aliguyon, pangimat na, winawa na inigit na,
The culture hero, whom legend says taught Ifugao women the Hudhud of other heroes. Although it is traditionally associated with women, men are also allowed to sing in the chorus. Year after year, the Hudhud school chanters have won local competitions and have been invited to perform in Manila. And with every passing batch, the legacy of this chant is passed on to the young Ifugaos.
I invited the elders to chant, and then I recorded their song. Afterwards, I must have to learn the song. After 2 weeks, I memorized it, and then that's the time I taught it to the children. Meron pong konting changes kasi pag from the elders direct to the children, hindi po nila makuha yung original beauty ng Hudhud chant. So, may adjustments before I taught it to the children line by line. There are many words that I cannot understand. Some words were very deep. So I always call on the munhawe to explain the meaning of the Hudhud. And so I also explain it to the children because we cannot change it to simpler form because that's really the beauty of the Hudhud.
Fatima's lifelong dedication to teaching the Hudhud has given the Tungod chanters many distinctions and awards, but even she admits that there is so much to learn and preserve.
It came to my mind that we should preserve it by singing it, telling stories, because Hudhud has 200 stories. After classes, the children always come to my door and say, "Ma'am, are we going to practice the Hudhud?" And say, "You wait for me after dismissal."
Worthy role models for the young chanters are the elders of their village, whose chanting is full of primal power and spontaneity. Although the Hudhud is traditionally chanted by women in the fields during harvest, Manong Leonardo and his neighbors know it well and will sing it, male and female elders in one chorus, to make sure it is passed on to young Ifugaos. Vintage footage of the campus of the Mindanao State University shows Maranao students dramatizing a chant of their own people, the Darangen. An epic of approximately 72,000 lines, it stands side by side with the Quran as a foundation of Maranao culture. The epic is not primarily Islamic in nature. Scholars have pointed out that much of its content stems from pre-Islamic times. The stories that make up the epic meld both Islamic and pre-Islamic tenets. The result of this melding, this distillation, is a code of personhood, a record of what the Maranao describes as anonin arawaten, all that is worth emulating. 25 song cycles make up the Darangen, of which only 18 have been recorded and studied. Although a majority of the songs deal with the adventures and romances, other songs deal with the laws on kingship, succession, warfare, diplomacy, and statesmanship. Because they are essentially narrative, all great epics lend themselves well to dance and performance. The Darangen is so rich that chapters and vignettes can readily become performances in themselves. The stories become chants and songs. The songs, dances. The dances, object lessons in the behavior of traditional role models. The honor is a professional singer, dancer, and chantress whose services are much in demand in Maranao society. During weddings and parties, she is hired to perform traditional songs and display skills like playing the kulintangan. But more than a hired pro, the honor is expected to act and behave in the manner of the legendary princesses of the Darangen, a role model and a living embodiment of all that is graceful and gracious in a Maranao woman.
Natuto akong maging honor kasi noon, yung tita ko, honor siya, sumasama ako sa kanya. Ina-realize ko na maganda pala yung magiging honor. Kailangan ng honor. Pag pumupunta doon, maganda siya, inaayos yung mukha, pati damit niya maganda. Para pagdating doon, maganda siya tingnan. At saka yung boses, yung parang sabihin natin yung parang hindi na sabihin na yung boses natin masyadong matigas. Yung medyo may pagkalambuting boses. Mahalaga sa akin yung pagiging honor ko. Kahit papaano na...
Again, influenced by the role models found in the Darangen. biases and misconceptions are quite palpable when it comes to our Muslim fellow men. Their image sometimes clouds our ability to see the richness of their traditions and the innate nobility instilled in them by their epics.
Susunod sa Schoolmates. Sa pagdiriwang ng ika-126 na anibersaryo ng kalayaan ng Pilipinas, itanong natin sa ating mga Gen Z schoolmates kung ano ang kahulugan ng kalayaan para sa bagong henerasyon.
Para po sa akin, ang kalayaan ay yung may kakayahan ka na gawin yung gusto mo, na walang ibang taong nagdidikta o nagsasabi kung ano yung mga dapat mong gawin.
I would define kalayaan as power. One's power to grasp things, to control things.
Freedom and peace, I believe, are intertwined concepts. Kumbaga, in order to have peace, we should first attain freedom.
Let's exercise our freedom to be heard. Dahil boses ng kabataan ang laging pinakikinggan sa Schoolmates, dito lang sa PTV. Past meets present naman ang PEG this week dahil sa heritage place na ito na puno ng food trends. It's Fun goes to Santa Ana kasama ang certified foodie na si Leslie Ordinario para busugin tayo sa kasaysayan at kainan. It's Fun.
Sir, yayain mo siya kumain.
Sige nga sir, kain tayo.
When man commits his epics, his stories, his feelings into a written text, he commits these to more than just memory. He puts down in writing not only his very being, but the essence of his entire race. And for that, one needs more than just a chanted song. One needs a syllabary in a system of writing. Pre-Hispanic syllabaries devised by our ancestors were widespread among the peoples of the Philippine archipelago. However, they now survive only among 4 indigenous cultural communities in Mindoro and Palawan. The most famous of these is a syllabary of the Hanunuo Mangyan of Mindoro. The scholar Anton Pusma describes the unique qualities of the Mangyan syllabary.
The Mangyan culture, the ambahan, is still alive. It is still being practiced by the Mangyans. If it was not for their value, their cultural value, I wouldn't mind it. Encourage the Mangyans, especially the older people. Do not forget to teach your children what you inherited from your forefathers.
The late Ginao Bilog was a master of the syllabary and its use in the ambahan, the traditional poetic verse form of the Mangyan. In this rare footage, the Gawad Manilikanang Bayan awardee demonstrates his mastery of the syllabary and his skill in etching his own verse on bamboo.
Ito ay galing pa sa aming mga ninuno. Noong una, marunong din po ang aking ama. Kaya gumaya po ako sa aking ama. Kung minsan, mayroon po kaming ambahan na tataginip, na panaginip po laang. Ito po ay kahit ilang taon, kahit 10 taon, basta't hindi mabasa, hindi masira, hindi madudurog ito.
Matapag mga duwa, magkunkuno sigun layan, magbilin kay.
We wanted to make sure that the very important epics of the Philippines, especially Darangen and Hudhud, will survive the passage of time. And initially, what we did was to submit these epics for declaration by UNESCO as masterpieces of the oral and intangible heritage of humanity. These are the epics Hudhud and Darangen. Because the moment they are declared as such, it will be easier to get funding support for us to encourage the young people to have programs so that the young people can be taught the traditions.
Music that is both sophisticated and powerful. Songs and chants worth passing on to future generations. Epics that show us ideals of heroism. Syllabaries and alphabets where memories and emotions are captured. All gifts of the mind and the intellect. If we could all remove the blinders from our eyes that dismiss these gifts as tribal or ethnic or even primitive, how much richer our own modern worldview would be, and how much more we could feel and rejoice in Dayaw, our knowledge, our pride.